Hey everybody, I'm Shane.
I'm Lex. How you doing?
Yeah, so we changed a bunch of things up. I thought we're going to be talking about hardware, software audits, and I thought on this database we keep it fairly clean, and I delete a lot of machines that haven't been booted up in a while. This just for the webcast, and I realized, oh crap, I don't have. We might want to show people how to filter out machines that haven't been booted for a little while. Yeah. And so I heard change the database at the last second. So who knows? This thing might just
could be really interesting today.
Yeah, it might just take a dive. Anyway, cheers, dude.
It's cool, baby.
Cheers, guys.
Cheers. All right. Do we have any questions before we
out the
jump
gate?
in there?
Andy, do we have a question to start off with?
Hold on. It looks like we're.
What's going on?
What are we doing?
I want to hurry and just if you have throw some questions up while I'm doing this because I got to hurry and.
Is there a way to pull the Dell Service tag using PDQ Inventory? Isn't the Dell Service tag stored in BIOS?
No, not natively. Not natively. We need to look at doing something like that. But no, it's not a native feature. If you want to store certain service tags that you cannot grab, that aren't grabbed by our current scanners, then you'd use custom fields. They used to be called custom items. Let me open up inventory here. I had to close it. We're going to see if this thing takes a dive. You want to use like custom fields for that. So let's do this. If you wanted to do something like that, I would come over and under custom fields. Once again, in previous versions, this was referred to as custom items. But you would do something like you do a new field, and what was it called again? The service tag.
Probably text. Yeah, you want to be able to do
text.
numbers and letters there. So
like Dell Service tag or something like that. And then once you've specified this in preferences, you can then edit this in each machine. Yeah, so it's a kind of a one-time hit. The custom fields. This is a feature that you would where you can store and track information that can't otherwise be grabbed through regular scanning methods, whether it's file scanner or registry scanner or applications, services, etc.
Again, though, this is at a computer level, so.
Yeah, precisely. So you would come over, I think we got, let's look at this one, Guinness. In Guinness, I'm going to open up Guinness, and the custom fields, you can see I've got a couple of them. Cost center, production. If there's a Dell service tag that I had, let's say this was a Dell, once again, in this particular case, you would type in whatever that happened to be, something like that, and then you could reference that.
In your reports.
In your reports, yeah. This any custom field ends up in the computer, effectively in the computer table. You could also show this in your collections, in your collection windows. Remember, you click on this. I'm gonna expand. I'm gonna close that.
Clear the filter. Yeah.
Click that little button right there. This takes you to the collection page, and you can just say, I want to add a column, and we called it the Dell Service tag. You could just add that. That's now going to show up in your collection windows.
There it is.
There's a Dell Service tag, and let's just move on. Oh, there it is. There's Guinness right there. So, of course, once again, if you want to do reports, it's going to be in the computer table. I'm going to hide that.
Okay.
So it's not natively. The answer is not natively, but we do have
There's
a
way
to
store it. Yeah.
You can store that stuff.
Hey, let's hit another question. What's the benefit of using audits instead of using collections?
I'm not sure I really understand.
That seems kind of semantic, doesn't it? Mm-hmm. Because
go ahead. No, go ahead.
I'll say they may be misunderstanding how reports and collections work. They may be, I'm not sure if they're thinking of reports or audits, but we don't actually have audits within the product.
We have reports.
We have reports.
Yeah.
So
I mean, well, let's pop one up, should we?
Okay, so basically, when we're talking about audits, we're saying if somebody comes to you, whether it's a software vendor or an accounting firm or just your manager that says, "I need to know, what software we have on our network," you could use collections. Mostly, you'd use reports.
Yeah.
And that's kind of what we're going to be talking about a little bit today. Is just, what kind of audits are common or audit requests. It's mostly just, I need to know what's on the network.
Let's say you need to true up your licensing. Yeah, that's basically it. Let's true up licensing.
Mm-hmm. So for an example, you could say we have, now I've got some custom collections here. You can see this probably doesn't look a lot like what you're normally seeing. I'm going to type in Microsoft Office up here. So we've got some default collections called Microsoft Office, and we can break these down by different versions, etc. Here's where somebody might say, I want to know how many Microsoft Offices we have. What you'd want to do is actually a report. So should we do that report?
Let's do it.
All right, so I'm going to close that out. Now, notice in reports, I've got a lot of reports here. And I also break them down into report folders. So I'm just going to create a new report folder. We'll call this
Microsoft.
Now, that's maybe audit requests or something.
Now, the nice thing is if there's a collection like you just saw that we have that's pre-built, we can automatically turn that into a report. Mm-hmm. You just got to go select it and build.
That's a very good point. So you've got your Microsoft Office.
Now let's go make an Office report.
So I'm going to come back over here to Microsoft Office. I'm just going to go to this top level guy. Now I'm going to open this collection. You're going to see it's got basically one filter. We're just going to take this. Oops, pardon me. And I'm going to do a new report from collection. Mm-hmm. And it just automatically populates that filter that's used in the collection is already just copied over here. So that makes it very, very nice. And now, since you're in a report, you can specify what you want to see. So I'm going to say computer name.
Yeah, let's see the software and the version.
Yep, so I'll click on a new column, application name, maybe the application version.
Should we do a count on that? Can we do a count on how many?
Well, we'll do a count. We can do a count later on. Right,
okay.
What we want to see right now is just all the offices that are installed. And let's do a selection source of all computers.
Makes sense.
Perfect. We have 32. So if somebody says, how many offices do we have? You can say, well, we've got 32. Mm-hmm. 32 Microsoft offices. Now, you might have, depending...
I drink to that. Huh. You should drink to that too.
Sir, yes, sir. So you might have some computers. It depends on your policies. You might have computers in your inventory database that are no longer used, but you want to keep them there. Mm-hmm. So maybe you want to say, well, I don't think we actually have 32 computers that are
actually using it. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So what are we going to do? And notice we have some that show up that have multiple versions of Office. But maybe what you could do, I'm going to go back into Define Report and go into Filters. So yeah, we have one filter that says, we're using a regular expression here, mm-hmm. basically to find all the offices. And the reason we're using regular expressions is there's a lot of Microsoft Office products out there that will show up in applications that you want to filter out. Like maybe you have Microsoft Office Word Viewer, and that doesn't actually count against your Office, so you want to exclude Viewer. That's why we're using a regular expression. But let's go ahead and filter out machines that are offline, out the gate. So we could just keep this, application name is this, add a new filter, and we'll just come over to online is true, yeah. See what that does. That takes us down to 25. Now you could also say, well, what if somebody just turned that off in the last day or so? So you could say, and you want to basically say, I want to know if they're offline and they have been booted up in a while.
A week or so, yeah.
Yeah, so then you could add another filter. And obviously you might have to add subgroup filters here, mm-hmm. but for right now we'll say computer. All these have to be true. Let's see. The boot time is after, so these are online computers that have been booted. Actually, we could just do this. We could lose this online and just say as long as their boot time is they were booted up in the last 7 days, So we'll do 7 days ago,
Well, Adam made that easy for you guys.
right?
Boom.
So these are the online machines that are booted in the last seven days. Sorry? Oh yeah. Yeah. Will that still pull if the computer is offline?
If it's in your database,
Yes.
and you do not have that filter on there that we were just showing you, yes.
So if you filter out the offline, right now, this could be a computer this could still show computers that are offline as long as they were booted in the last 7 days. But if you wanted to just change that to online only or offline only, then you would just go down to the online under the computer table to your online column and say whether it's true or false.
Now, on that 7-day boot, if you got people who haven't booted in a month, and I have seen this a lot, okay, unless you're forcing a 7-day boot, you're going to start filtering out people who've just left their machine on for a long, long time. So,
Yeah. So one thing you could do is I'm going to just save this real quick. You could have a collection. I'm just going to come over here to my custom collections. Actually, I'll just create this on the top level for you guys. I'm going to create a dynamic collection. And this is a great way to say, I want to just see which computers are offline and that haven't booted for a while. So offline, booted, over 30 days ago. So these could be machines that have been retired or someone's taken them home or whatever. You guys can play with this. So we're saying offline, computer name. Change that from computer name to computer online. This is false. So let's take a peek at that. These are computers. We've got 22 computers that are currently offline. Now let's see of those computers, which ones haven't been booted in the last 30 days. So we're going to create another filter. And this time we're going to say, oops, pardon me.
boot time.
Boot time is before relative, we'll do 30. So these are the machines that are offline. They were last booted before 30 days ago.
Oh, shrinks that down.
Yep. So these machines have not only are they offline, they haven't been online for a long
30
time.
days, yeah.
Yeah. So you guys can, once again, I'm going to show you those filters. And that's why I had to hurry and change the database, because normally on this on our webcast one we don't
Keep it up to date.
Yeah, we try to hurry and just remove some of the clutter so you don't see these old machines. But in reality, you probably have those. Another thing you might want to do. Let's say that you've got machines that you have inventory. You don't want to delete the inventory yet, but these machines are, for all intents and purposes, gone. One thing you could do if you use Active Directory, you can place these machine objects, these computer objects, into a particular OU, and then, or make it a member of a security group, and then just say, show me all the computers that have Office, and they cannot be a member of this OU, or they can't be a member of this group.
Speaking of which, let's do that. Let's say they can't be a member of that offline collection in our report we just built. So we get a little chewed up, get any of those that have Office.
Okay, so we actually have a collection. Thank you, Lex. We have a collection that's offline, booted over 30 days ago. So what we're going to do is
going back to that report we just built.
Yep, we're going to go back to the report. Now, when you do a report from a collection, it places it in the root level of your report. So I'm going to just grab this and move this over to audit requests. All right. And then we're going to, as Lex mentioned, we're just going to open this up. We just created this collection. Let's go ahead and actually say we're going to remove the online as true.
So now this report becomes more dynamic as we use that collection.
We're going to say, and computer name, let's see.
Collection, just passed it, man.
Actually, what I want to do is member of collection.
Oh, there we go.
Actually, it's a member of collection. And we can say the name. How are we going to do this?
I think you got to negate it. It's got to be one of those.
You know what? Hold on for a second. I'm having a brain fart. Let me just see if this is what I want to do. Hold on.
Gotta love live webcasts.
Oh yeah, whatever. It's all good.
Hey, I'll drink to that too.
Yeah. So actually, going to say collection is not member, and then you see this little ellipsis over here, and we've just created this one. So show me any computer that has Office, but it's not a member of offline booted over 30 days ago. All right. You run that, and there's your. Now we have 29. So these, yes, thank you. So it's the collection under the computer table, and in this case, we said is not a member of. We'll show you that definition again. Computer collection is not member, and then from that ellipsis button, you choose the collection.
Yep.
Do we have any other questions out there? Can you see if a cell phone or other device is plugged into a USB on a workstation from PDQ Inventory? You can check. You can see certain USB. You can see certain devices if they have storage attached to them. It just depends on if you've run a scan that contains the hard disks. I believe it's a hard disk scanner. So the answer is I'm not. If that phone mounts to that computer and gets a fixed drive letter. Mm-hmm. Because it's got some storage then you'll probably be able to see that. It's just when you scan your computers, and I believe this is the case. When you scan, I'm going to go back to your preferences here. Pardon me.
To clarify, they wouldn't be able to do that off of a driver or anything like a
driver. No, you'd have to look for drive space and actually a drive.
Yeah, that's only it would only show up, and I'm going to go to scan profiles. Let's go down to standard. And notice I've got a lot of these here. Under details, I believe it's the disks. Yeah, I believe it's disks. So when you scan a computer, as long as you have the disks scan or in there, then it's gonna say whether or not any storage exists, and then that'll break that you can break that down into it. Let's go to.
Speaking of which, we're going to talk about storage in a minute. How to audit for, machines that got low disk space too. So.
Disks. So they would show up. They would most likely show up here. But once again, that's only if you scan them at the time that's in there. Mm-hmm. So it's not really. There's better software out there if you want certain intrusion detection, or hey, somebody just plugged in a flash drive or something, and you'll get notified of that. There's something better out there. This is mostly for archival purposes. You scan it at the time of this scan. This is what the disks look like.
Yep.
So.
Okay. I'm currently using Excel sheets with lots of columns to manage clients, model type, hardware, OS tag, etc. Is there a way to manage all of these with PDQ Inventory with queries which ends in scheduled reports? Jan K. Good question.
Hi, Jan. Let me see. I'm going to have to parse that question again. Hold on.
So basically, I think she's asking, can we send scheduled reports based off of that kind of stuff? I think that would be a yes.
Well, I mean, to reference your Excel sheets, now you're going to need to create those reports
in inventory.
And then grab the same stuff that you're collecting in these sheets, like your model. So assume you built your report to grab the model, your type, your hardware, your OS, etc.
I mean, there's some reports in here that are very similar to that. You probably have to collect asset tag and put that in custom field.
But if you build those reports and then you want to. And then what you're talking about is probably an auto report where you have scheduled reports. And let's just go back over here to this Office audit request. You could add this to an auto report. We do have some specific auto report features or videos out there, but auto reports is an enterprise level feature. Let's just do a new auto report. Something like audits or something, whatever. Then you specify the path. This is going to be a UNC path to where you want to store your folder. The file names, we recommend that in your file names that you use variables so that you could say like this is the report name.
It was run on this date.
And append the date to it. That way you don't have duplicates in there. We'll send this to an Excel workbook. That's the format, or PDF or whatever. And then you get to choose your reports. We're going to attach. And we have audit reports. audit requests, Microsoft Office. So you can attach multiple reports to this particular auto report feature, and based off of your triggers. So we'll say run this, daily or something. Yeah, every day at 11 p.m. And you can also have those mailed to you by configuring this. I'm not going to do all that right now. It'll take a little too much time. And of course, don't forget your path.
That's important,
path,
because
the
it's
path
got to
would
build
be-
a report to send it. So
Yeah, the path would be something like your server name,
file server.
yeah, share name, etc. And then that's how you would have those reports built. But you know what, Jan, you're going to need to build those reports that you're currently doing in Excel. You have to actually build those in PDQ Inventory. We can't just look at those Excel spreadsheets and do much with them.
No, there's a good video on how to set up these auto reports.
There's
Just
probably
check
a
our
few of them,
website.
yeah.
So we don't do anything like a CSV import or anything like that.
We can do a CSV export, but
but not
not an import.
importing the data into
If you do have a lot of data that you want for custom items, we've had a couple of requests of people saying, listen, I've just got a bunch of custom items I want to just mass populate so I don't have to hit all of these computers. Send us a request as long as you've purchased the product. Send us a request and we can at support@adminarsenal.com, and we can probably help you out. We've done this in the past a few times where we've sent out some SQL commands that you can run to import data. That's to create your custom fields and to auto populate those just out the gate.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because people are saying, yeah, I know it's a one-time hit, but is there any way I can just make it easier? Let us know. We'll see what we can do to help you out. Sometimes the request might be a little too much for us to handle, but by all means ask. Okay, so you wanted to look at...
Let's look at hardware, because let's say, audits. We're talking inventory stuff.
Yeah.
What about hardware? I'm planning for next year. How many machines do I need to buy new ones for, because they're running out of hard disk space? How
Actually,
many machines are running XP? That kind of stuff.
like a hardware refresh or something.
Yeah,
like that.
hardware refresh.
Actually, there's been a request out for a collection library that we finally added. In our collection library, we did add our first hardware. We just have one thing out there right now.
That's available to everybody now?
If you have a current enterprise license.
Oh, okay, nice.
So hardware disks, these are machines that have less than 10% free space. Let me just clear that filter. 10% free space on their C drive, and obviously 20% free space on their drive. Very simple. You look at that.
Put that back. I'm going to have to take care of this stuff later today. Let's go with the 10%. I got to see what kind of work I got to do today. Yeah. Krieger, Lisa.
I think I fixed Krieger.
Did you?
I'm pretty sure.
I don't care about anybody's stuff but mine. So, good luck, guys.
That information, once again, is grabbed from the disks scanner.
Yeah.
So I'm just going to run the standard scan profile, see if we can get this to work. And if JJ truly did, in fact, fix Krieger, and this scan doesn't take a dive, then we'll find out.
Let's bet on that.
But the takeaway...
I make no promises.
You make no promises?
I did delete gigabytes and gigabytes of stuff. So.
Yep, there you go.
Yeah,
It's gone.
You did?
Hey. I'm probably still in the 20% range, though.
Yeah, so if we take a peek at Putty, look at our disk drive, sure enough, our C drive, as of the last scan,
2 gig.
35 gig C drive, he's got 2 gig free, so he's 7%. So if you look at the filter for that, all we're using are the logical. The logical device equals C colon, and the free percent is less than, and you can see I've got 10 there. So let's say that you want to do a report. Obviously, you can, once again, create a report from this collection if you have the enterprise license. Let's go to a new report out the gate. Let's go back over here to audit. New report. So what do you want to look for, Lex?
Well, I want to look for, how about machines that have got less than, 16 gig of memory?
Okay.
Because, Windows 10, I like things running fast. And then, I can always give those machines with less than 8 gig or less than 16 gig to people I don't like at the office, right? Isn't that why you do that stuff, right? So you can take care of the people you like, right? JJ,
so.
prepare
like
for
it.
your new machine, baby. 8 gig of RAM.
But here's the thing: you like everybody because you're nice, but nobody really likes you. So does that have any problems?
just a one-way
that
relationship.
hurts because it's true. That hurts because it's true.
All right, so we're gonna say oops, pardon me. I'm looking at columns. So let's look at the computer name, right? And then we'll show the computer memory. So if we just hit run right now, we're going to show everything. We don't have any filters in there. You said you want to look for anybody that had less than 16 gig? Is
Well,
that
let's
right?
look for anybody less than 8. Apparently we got a lot with only 4. So
Okay. So now we're going to go to a filter. And let's create a new data filter, or value filter, pardon me. And we're just going to simply say memory is less than, and then you have your qualifiers over here. If you want to zoom in there, JJ. Gigabytes, megabytes, etc. We're going to go ahead and do 16 gigabyte or 8. You backtracked and you wanted 8.
I backtracked even further and wanted 4, but it's easy enough to fix. So
Yep. So look at that. These are the machines that have less than 8. So maybe you're doing a hardware refresh and you're like, okay, which machines do I need to buy some memory for? And then you'd have your answer right here.
Yep.
All right. And you can build these reports for all sorts of things, whether it's model, your CPU, processor speeds, etc.
if you're updating your OSs, you can pull everybody that needs a new Windows 10. You know, it's quick.
Yeah.
It's almost painless.
Yeah, so if you were going to say, I want to know, I don't know off the top of my head what the minimum requirements for 10 are, but let's say you're trying to figure out which machines you want to get to 10. Do you have enough resources on those machines? We'll just do a new report. And we'll call this something like, Windows 10 candidates or something like that. These would be machines that meet the requirements. And then you would show me in this case, just show me the computer and maybe their current OS. And we'll just do OS. Remember, there's OS. There's also OS name. OS is the short name, so it'd be like Windows 7 would show up as 7, whereas the OS name would show Windows 7 Enterprise or Windows 7 Professional, etc. We'll just show the OS, but it's the filters that we're going to want to focus on. Okay, first of all, I'm going to create a new group, and this one we're going to say not any, and then I'm going to move this down here. First of all,
Now, the reason you do a not any is to negate this. We're going to look for things and say, well, don't be part of this.
We could do something like Windows OS contains 10, because we got the not any. So if we're talking about Windows 10 candidates, let's automatically strip out Windows 10.
Yep.
All right. And now we're going to see there's no Windows 10.
Let's get rid of the servers too. We don't need
Let's
those.
get rid of servers. Not any underneath there. Computer OS. Now I'm going to go back to OS name. Since OS is the short, we're going to just say OS name contains server. So if there's anything that has either 10 in the OS or server, strip that out.
Boom, there we go.
Boom. Boom. And you can't do Vista, so we've got some Vistas in there. Once you can see where we're going with this, just say OS name can't contain Vista. But then you're also going to want to create some, like in this case, all. I generally like to create when I have multiple subgroups. Notice I selected the all and created a new group filter. Placed it it's on the same level as this not any, but just below the top level. I'm going to create a value filter under there. And this is where we can do something like the memory.
Got to be equal to or greater than 8?
Is greater than, let's just say.
Greater than 7. 8 would be greater than 7.
Nothing
SMRT, baby.
Nothing gets past this guy.
7.999.
That's right.
All right, so these are the
You know
computers.
what? I'd drink to that too. But I'm empty. I'm empty.
These are the computers that have more than 7 gigabytes. They're not Windows 10, et cetera, et cetera. You can see where we're going. And then you could also say, if you're going to do the upgrade, you have to have a lot of hard drive space on your C drive. So what we're going to do is add another one, computer memory. We'll change this to...
The nice thing about this, you can do all the footwork at your desk. You don't have to go out and look and, you know.
Logical disk, device. The device is your hard drive, is your number. So it would be C drive, right? And then we want to do a logical disk, free percent, or actually free space in gigabytes is greater than, and once again, I don't know what the exact numbers are, but let's just say
20 gig.
Yeah.
Boom.
Oops.
Oh, 200.
Boom.
All right.
Okay. So these could be the machines that you could get these upgrades. They have the necessary hard drive space available on C. They have enough memory. They're not already Windows 10. They're not a server. They're not Vista. So.
Yep. Hey, we got a question. Is it possible to pull the ownership tag from the BIOS, Jeremy D?
There's certain things we pull from the BIOS.
Let's pop up on a computer and show them.
Under the computer table. So if you don't currently see under system, like, you know, we do have, there's a general area for BIOS, asset tag, etc. If you don't see it here, then you know, you can make a request to us if it's something that we think would affect a large number of computers, of our clients' computers. We could add it, but for the most part, you might actually have to go back to the custom fields, enter that, so that you can track it for those. So there's some things that you just really can't grab from scanners. Like purchase dates are another one. If you want to track when you purchased a computer, you'd use a custom field.
Yeah.
If you want to track when a computer is going to expire, as far as the warranty, you might want to do that. But,
Or which accounting group you want to bill it to. You know. So, JJ, any more questions, man? There we go. Instead of deleting a machine, is there a way to archive it so it can be found for history reporting to eliminate the computer from showing up under collection library as being outdated? Hans N.
Hi, Hans. Okay, so we don't have you can get what you're looking for, but we don't have an actual feature for historical tracking.
Yeah.
And an example of that is people saying, I want to know, okay, so I scan a computer, I can see the applications that are available here, but can I see what applications were there 2 weeks ago, if there was any changes? No, we don't do any type of historical stuff. So what you're going to want to do, if you're going to want to archive it, I would recommend, if you're going to go through that pane, I would actually recommend, if you're using Active Directory, to take your archived machines, place them in, in an OU called archive or something like that. And if you still want to keep that in your inventory, you can do that. What you're going to have to do on your collections or your reports is go back and say, there's actually a filter. I'm gonna pull up. Let's just say we don't want to grab anything that's in domain controllers just for right now. Okay. The domain controllers would be an OU. So but do the math.
So we're going to exclude an OU basically is what it's going to be.
So one thing you could say, if you don't want to have to change all of your collections, you could just say a new dynamic collection, or you do archived or whatever. And under the computer table, you want to look at AD parent path. All right, AD parent path. You could do a does not contain here because every computer can only have one parent path.
One-to-one, yeah.
So you could do domain controllers, right? Oh, pardon me. So, pardon me. I should want to contain. Sorry, contains. Those are all the. So
it's everybody but. There we go.
Boom, boom, boom. So what do you want to do with this one now? In your reports that you build, you could say, and is not a computer collection is not a member of domain controllers or archived or whatever. You could also create sub collections under here. So let's say we'll rename this to instead of this, we'll call this non-domain. So now these are all the computers. We know that there's no domain controllers that are in here. Does not contain. Once again, this would be like your archive. And then you have subgroups under here. I'm going to move online over. And just say drill down from parent. Since the parent happens to be new domain controllers or your archive, it will only show computers in this online computers that are also in here. So we have two domain controllers, Venice and Winston. They're both online. They should not show up here. Yep, there's no Venice, there's no Winston. They should not show up here because they're not in this new domain controllers, and we filtered that out.
Yep.
All right. using the drill down from parent. So, I mean, there's a number of ways you can do it. There's not an archive tag. Basically, what I would do, unless you want to go out maybe to Active Directory. Again, I like Active Directory because there's a description field, and you could, in the description field, just mark a computer as archive, and then you could have all your filter or all your collections or whatever say, show me all the computers that have Office, but they don't have the word archive in their Active Directory description. Right? So there's a number of ways you can do it. It's just there's not a native feature of marking this as archived.
Can you create a report showing if a computer has wake-on-lan enabled?
Ooh.
That's a good question.
See, here's the problem with that, David.
Yeah.
I'm going to say no. Here's the problem with that. There's a number of ways to set that. I mean, you have to do it in the BIOS. There's only a few things in the BIOS that we grab, and then obviously in your NIC properties. And what we grab NICs. We don't grab every single property. I mean, that would be intense.
Yeah, there would be a lot of data to store.
Yeah, so unfortunately, if there was a registry value that you could easily see, you might be able to get a good idea, but you're still limited to whatever's, you could have a NIC say yes, allow the magic packets or something like that. But if it's not set in BIOS, it's still not going to be able to get woken up. There's a lot of moving parts when it comes to computers that can have a wake-on-lan. Sorry.
Good, man. Oh, you're drinking. Oh, okay. Is a modified date in AD for a computer object the same similar to the AD Last Logon in inventory? We have a lot of machines with very old AD Last Logon, but modified date in AD is very recent.
I don't know.
Michael, I never looked at that either.
Yeah, I don't know. I would Google foo that one.
Yeah.
And just say, look at AD attributes, modified versus AD Last Logon.
And when you find out, Mike, let us know. Appreciate it, man. Thanks.
Yeah, that last logon is supposed to be when the computer object itself did a logon. When computers do a logon when they boot up to AD. That's why every now and then you'll see trust relationship is broken. And that's because that machine lost its sync with Active Directory, and you either rejoin it to the domain or use a utility like NetDome or something like that, and basically resync that up. That should modify the AD logon. If not, then looks like I need to brush up on my AD attributes. All right, last question then.
Is there any way to import data into inventory with some kind of field mapping ability? Dan O.
No, not natively. Once again, if depending on the request,
you need to think about that before you just shut the guy down. Just like,
well, it's no. Depending on what kind of information you're trying to look for, you'd really be looking. You're looking at custom fields, because if you're saying, "Hey, I've already got a computer. I know what the hardware is. I know what the memory is, and I want to put that into a computer object." The next scan is going to just overwrite all of that anyway. So there's not a way to import. I mean, to import that data is to add the computer to your inventory database and scan it. So what you're talking about would only be respective to custom fields. Like I say, depending on the request, we might be able to help you out with some type of kind of a batch processing there. All right. Yeah, so you're basically, thank you. Hardware audits, software audits, build your reports. Do auto reports if you so choose, but you have a lot of information that you can grab it here. Hardware, software. Look at your filters, learn them. If you have questions, go out to our support forums and ask away. Or if you have some solutions, go ahead and post them. Hey, this is how I survived this audit.
Also, you guys, the collections that keep up to date with the software that's out, like Java and Flash, are good for your PCI audits. So
yeah, he's talking about the collection library.
The collection library, yeah.
Use the collection library. We keep that stuff up to date. You can just right there see which computers have an old Java, have an old Flash, etc.
Yeah, helps with those audits.
All right, rock on.
See you guys later.
Thanks so much for joining us, guys. If your question was featured, if you will email me at webcast@adminarsenal.com so I can hook you up with some PDQ swag. Didn't have a question answered, support.adminarsenal.com is your friend. So I will see you guys next week.